Jacob was renowned in Canaan as a just and kind man. In addition to being a father, he was considered a prophet, claiming to have had divine visions in which God spoke to him. He longed for a large offspring like his ancestors, and although he already had 10 sons with his concubines, he desired more. Rachel, one of his wives, was Jacob's great love. Despite his deep affection, she remained unable to conceive for years. However, one day, with great excitement, she announced that she was finally expecting a child. Jacob received the news with joy and gratitude, seeing it as God's answer to his prayers. During Rachel's pregnancy, Jacob watched over her well-being, and after months of waiting, she gave birth to a boy named Joseph. Being the child of the woman he loved most, Jacob had a special affection for him, showering him with gifts and attention that reflected his love. Joseph grew up working in the fields with his brothers, who began to resent their father's preferential treatment. While they performed arduous tasks, Joseph was assigned easier work or sometimes stayed at home with Jacob. This difference fueled his brothers' jealousy, who saw him as the favorite. Years later, Rachel gave birth to a second son, Benjamin, but did not survive childbirth. Although Jacob suffered the loss of his beloved wife, he clung to the baby, who managed to survive. At the age of 16, Joseph desired to work like his brothers, but Jacob feared for his safety. One day, Jacob gifted him a beautiful coat of many colors as a token of his love. Joseph, excited, wanted to show it to his brothers, but his father asked him to stay home. Nevertheless, after insisting, Jacob relented and allowed him to go to the fields. Upon arrival, Joseph found his brothers asleep while the sheep were scattering. He woke them with a shout, which provoked their anger. Noticing the coat, they asked where he got it from, and he replied that their father had it specially made for him. His brothers, filled with envy, pushed him and confronted him. Joseph tried to get along with them, but what irritated them most were his dreams. In one, he saw how his brothers' sheaves bowed to his; in another, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars did the same. These dreams increased his brothers' resentment, leading them to plan his disappearance. On an occasion while they were grazing elsewhere, Jacob sent Joseph to see how they were. As they saw him approaching with his coat, they called him the dreamer and plotted against him. Some wanted to kill him and blame a wild animal, but Reuben, the eldest, convinced them not to and instead threw him into a pit. The next day, a caravan of Ishmaelite traders passed nearby. Judah proposed selling Joseph as a slave instead of killing him, and his brothers agreed. Joseph was handed to the merchants, who took him to Egypt. Hurt and betrayed, Joseph pleaded with his brothers, but they ignored him. To cover up their action, the brothers soaked Joseph's coat with goat's blood and took it to Jacob, who, devastated, believed his son had been killed by a beast. His grief was so deep that he didn't even wish to eat. Only Benjamin managed to bring him some comfort. Meanwhile, the Ishmaelites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, a Pharaoh's official and captain of the guard. Joseph proved to be an exceptional worker, earning his master's trust, who appointed him steward and administrator of his estate. Thanks to Joseph, Potiphar's house prospered, for God blessed him in all he did. Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph, who rejected her, but Potiphar sent him to a dark cell for many years. Joseph's story does not end there. His destiny in Egypt would take turn, and the dreams would eventually come true. To learn the rest of his story, we invite you to watch our next video.